A billionaire, betrayed by his own wife, whom he loved so much, and his very best friend, whom he trusted so much. This amazing story will expose the most powerful betrayal any man could get from his own people that he trusted. Obi Nwankwo, the billionaire everyone admired, stood by his sleek black Range Rover, adjusting the cufflinks on his deep navy blue kaftan. His driver had just opened the car door when, "Sir, please wait." A soft, trembling voice echoed across the compound. Obi looked up, surprised to see Esther, the youngest of his 3 housemaids, running barefoot across the pavement. Her wrapper was barely tied properly, and her scarf hung lopsided on her head. Her face was pale, her eyes red, like someone who hadn't slept all night. "Esther," Obi frowned. "Is everything all right?" She got to his window, panting, then leaned slightly, her eyes filled with tears. "Sir, I'm sorry to disturb you like this. I know I'm just a maid, but I had a terrible dream last night. It was about you." Obi raised his brows, amused. "Me?" Esther swallowed. "Yes, sir. You were poisoned. In the dream you collapsed, right here. Your mouth was foaming. People were screaming. It looked so real. I woke up crying, sir." Obi chuckled gently, reaching for the ignition. "Esther, dreams are just dreams. You shouldn't worry your little head over that." But Esther stepped closer. "Please, sir, I beg you. Just be careful. Don't eat anyhow. Don't trust everybody around you. Especially now. I feel something is wrong. I don't know where the danger is coming from, but I felt it deep in my chest. Please." Obi's smile faded slightly as he looked at the young woman. Her hands were shaking. She wasn't pretending. Her fear was genuine. "I appreciate your concern," he said softly, touched. "Really, I do. But I'm fine. It's just a bad dream, eh? Don't let it trouble you." "Yes, sir." Esther stepped back, still worried. "I just had to tell you." Obi nodded, waved, and entered the vehicle. His driver shut the door and eased the car slowly toward the gate. Upstairs, behind the sheer curtains of the master bedroom, Veronica stood silently, arms folded across her chest, watching everything unfold. Her silk robe clung to her smooth body, her perfectly manicured nails tapping rhythmically against her arm. Her eyes followed Esther like a hawk stalking prey, so Esther had the audacity to approach Obi directly. When Obi returned from work that evening, Veronica was waiting for him in the living room with her usual warm smile. A soft jazz song played in the background, the scent of vanilla incense filling the air. "Darling," she said, crossing her legs elegantly on the white leather couch, "I saw our little village girl whispering sweet things to you this morning. Should I be worried?" Obi laughed, kicking off his shoes. "Come on, Vero. It was nothing like that." "Oh, really?" she teased. She looked so serious. What was she saying? Obi sat beside her, shaking his head. "She said she had a dream that I was poisoned. Begged me to be careful." Veronica's eyes lit up with mock concern, and then she laughed. An elegant, dramatic laugh, like a Nollywood actress. "Esther Joseph the Dreamer," she exclaimed. "Next thing you know, she'll say the angels are dancing a zonto in her backyard." Obi smiled, slightly amused. She was really serious, though. "My love, listen to me," Veronica said, resting her hand on his shoulder. "You're a great man. People admire you, talk about you, maybe even envy you. And these village girls, always dreaming nonsense. Let's not let superstition rule our lives." "You're right," Obi said, nodding. "I'm just being paranoid." "Exactly," Veronica cooed, placing a kiss on his cheek. "We live by faith, not fear. Let Esther keep dreaming." That night, after a glass of red wine and a quiet dinner, Obi lay in bed beside Veronica. Her head rested gently on his chest as the night deepened into silence. But sleep didn't come. Instead, a thick, choking darkness filled his dreams. He was back in the compound. A trail of food, laughter, then pain, unbearable pain in his stomach. He fell to the ground. His vision blurred. Someone screamed, "Obi! Obi! He's dying!" The foamy substance spilled from his lips. His body jerked. He saw shoes. A man's shoes, and Veronica's voice. "We got what we wanted, Agu. Let's go." Obi woke up with a shout, drenched in sweat. His heart beat like a war drum. He sat up in bed. Veronica stirred beside him, but didn't wake. He placed a hand over his chest. It was just a dream. But it wasn't just a dream. It was the same dream Esther described. A chill swept through him. Suddenly, the words of Esther rang in his mind like thunder. Don't eat anyhow. Don't trust everybody around you. Especially now. He looked at his wife. She was still sleeping peacefully. Or pretending to. He couldn't tell anymore. Something had changed in his world. And he could feel it. The sun was high in the sky when Obi Nwako stepped out of the conference room, shaking hands with government officials and international investors. His charisma was undeniable. Commanding presence, brilliant mind, kind heart. The world saw a man at the peak of his power. But inside his own home, danger had found a seat at his table. While Obi gave speeches and signed deals back at the mansion, Veronica stood in front of her mirror, running a brush through her long, wavy weave. Her reflection smiled back at her, but it was not the smile of a devoted wife. It was the smile of someone keeping a deadly secret. Her fingers paused. She picked up her phone and dialed a number from memory. A few rings. Then a low, familiar voice answered. Veronica. Agu. The name alone stirred something dangerous inside her. The voice of her past. Her first love. Her old flame now dressed in a business suit and carrying deadly ambitions. Where are you? She whispered, checking to make sure no one was around. Still at the office. I assume your husband is too? Yes. Then let's meet, Agu said. We need to talk face to face. I have the solution. Veronica's lips curled into a smile. Same place. Same place. A few hours later, in a dimly lit VIP lounge of an exclusive restaurant on Victoria Island, Agu was already seated, sipping whiskey when Veronica walked in. She wore dark sunglasses and a black jumpsuit. Casual enough to blend in, classy enough to command attention. They didn't hug. No need. The heat between them had long crossed the line of subtlety. Sit, Agu said, gesturing with a tilt of his glass. We have work to do. Veronica slid into the seat. Obi is getting too suspicious. He's not eating carelessly anymore. Even in the house, he now asks questions. He checks the food himself. Agu leaned forward, lowering his voice. Then it's you who must do it. He trusts you. You're the last person he suspects. If this continues, the opportunity will vanish. Veronica looked away, chewing her lower lip. I don't know. Agu's voice turned cold. Do you want to be stuck in that prison of a marriage forever? Or do you want to be free? With me? In America? She turned back to him, fire in her eyes. You know I want to be with you. Then we have to act. Listen. Once Obi is out of the picture, you'll inherit everything. The estate, the business shares. The life insurance will pay out in less than a month. You and I can leave this country forever. Veronica nodded slowly, already picturing it. Palm trees in California, sipping mojitos by Agu's side. No more hiding. A life of luxury and freedom. But in her heart, fear crept in like a shadow. Are you sure this poison will work? She whispered. I got it from one of the guys that supplied the cartel. It's fast, clean, tasteless. Just mix it into his food. 10 minutes later, he'll be gone. She nodded, feeling the weight of the plan settling in her chest. But neither of them knew that fate was weaving its own plot. Back at the mansion, Esther was humming quietly as she cleaned the living room, occasionally peeking at the large grandfather clock near the entrance. Obi hadn't returned from work yet, but something strange was beginning to happen. In the past, Madame Veronica barely noticed her. She never spoke more than a few cold words, unless it was to complain or command. But lately, Veronica had grown distant, nervous, distracted. She kept checking her phone. She barely looked Esther in the eye. And now, after that dream she'd had, Esther couldn't ignore her instincts anymore. Even the other staff had begun to whisper. "Madame, they act one kind these days," the cook, Mama Doris, had said. "She dey smile too much, too polite. You know say when snake one bite, you go first cool body." Esther was scared, but she was also watching, waiting. That evening, Veronica returned home before Obi. She headed straight upstairs and locked herself in their bedroom. She placed a small bottle of poison in the second drawer beneath Obi's favorite wine glasses. She stood there, staring at it for a long time, breathing slowly. This was the path she had chosen, a path drenched in silence and betrayal. But her mind flicked back, years ago, to when she first met Agu in university. They were inseparable, but poverty tore them apart. He dropped out. She moved on, married into wealth. Then, years later, life threw Agu right back in her arms. This time, not as her lover, but as her husband's best friend. At first it was awkward, then thrilling, then dangerous, and now, deadly. Later that night, Obi finally returned home. Esther was dusting the stairway banister when she saw him come in. She noticed something different in his walk. Slower, more careful. He paused, looked around, almost like he was searching for something hidden. He saw her and gave a faint nod. Esther bowed slightly, but her eyes stayed on him, sharp and focused. Obi entered the living room and met Veronica, who greeted him with a kiss and a bright smile. "I missed you today," she said. "I noticed your call," he replied, his tone cool. Veronica picked up the remote. "You know what? Tomorrow, let's eat dinner together. Just us. No distractions." Obi nodded slowly, watching her eyes. Behind that smile, something was off. That night, Obi lay in bed again. The room was silent, the AC humming softly. Veronica slept soundly beside him, her back turned. But Obi couldn't sleep. The second dream had come again. Only this time, he had seen a face. Not fully, just a glimpse. But the voice was unmistakable. It was August. He sat up slowly. His best friend, his trusted business partner, and his wife. Something in his gut twisted like a rope. The dream, Esther's warning, the change in Veronica. His instincts screamed at him. "Be careful." He turned and looked at Veronica, peaceful in her sleep, or pretending again. He no longer knew. But he knew one thing. He had to stay alive to find out. The sky was thick with clouds that Thursday morning, as though the heavens sensed something dark was about to unfold. The usual peace around the Nwanko estate felt off. Birds chirped half-heartedly, and the wind blew leaves across the driveway with restless energy. Esther stepped out of the kitchen, tying her scarf tighter around her head. She carried a market list in one hand and a brown envelope of cash in the other. Money Madame Veronica had given her just minutes ago. "Make sure you price well, oh," Veronica had said sharply. "If you like, go and allow them cheat you like last time." "Yes, ma," Esther had replied quietly. She was halfway to the gate when she patted her wrapper and frowned. Something was missing. The envelope. Her eyes widened. She must have dropped it. Or worse, forgotten it entirely. She turned back immediately, walking fast toward the house. As she approached the kitchen entrance, she slowed her steps, hoping to slip in unnoticed, grab the envelope, and rush back out before Madame could lecture her. But just as she reached the back corridor that led into the kitchen, she froze. Veronica's voice was coming from the guest bathroom, near the corridor. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp, tense, and she wasn't alone. Esther heard a man's voice replying. She recognized it immediately. Agu. Why was Agu speaking with Madame in the guest bathroom? What were they hiding? She moved closer, softly, silently, hiding behind the curtain of the hallway window, pressing her back against the wall, barely breathing. Then she heard it clearly. Obi is too careful now, Veronica said, her voice laced with frustration. He barely eats outside anymore. He watches everything like a hawk. I couldn't even get him to take wine last night. That's a problem, Agu replied. If we don't act fast, we might lose our chance. What do you want me to do? Veronica snapped. He's already suspicious. He's asking questions. If we rush this, he might discover everything. There was a brief silence. Then Agu's voice turned cold. Then it has to be you. You'll have to poison him. He trusts you. He loves you. He'll eat whatever you give him. Esther gasped silently, one hand flying to her chest. She strained to listen as Veronica spoke again, this time whispering. You're right. He'll never suspect me. And once he's gone, you inherit it all, Agu finished. The properties, the life insurance, everything. And then we disappear together. We'll go to America like we planned, Veronica said with a dark giggle. Obi's death will be our freedom. Esther's knees weakened. She backed away slowly from the window, heart pounding like a festival drum. The market list slipped from her trembling hand and fluttered to the ground. She didn't dare pick it. She turned and tiptoed out the way she came, hurrying through the side garden and out of the compound gate, barely able to keep herself from running and screaming. At the market, Esther stood still for minutes, blankly watching traders shout prices and buyers haggle over tomatoes. She didn't hear them. She didn't move. She was trapped in her mind, replaying every word. You'll have to poison him. You inherit everything. Then we disappear. She held her arms tightly, trying to stop them from shaking. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes. What should I do? If she told Obi, would he believe her? Or would he think she was lying? Like the last time, would he accuse her of envy, of trying to break his marriage? He already warned her not to interfere again. He had shouted, threatened to sack her. And what if Veronica found out she was eavesdropping? Esther could be blamed, even killed. But if she said nothing, Obi would die. By the time she returned from the market, she was drained, emotionally, mentally. She moved like a shadow in the house, avoiding Madame, barely speaking to the cook. That night, she lay awake on a small foam mattress in the maid's quarters, staring at the ceiling. Sleep refused to come. All she saw was Obi, smiling, generous, trusting, and dying. She sat up, breathing heavily, then walked to the window and opened it slightly, letting in the cool air. In the distance, crickets chirped. A dog barked. She turned her face toward the sky. God, what should I do? She whispered. If I don't talk, someone will die. If I talk, they may kill me too. But I cannot keep this to myself. A single tear fell down her cheek. She would do it. She would tell Obi. Whatever happened next, she would not have his blood on her hands. The next morning, after breakfast, she gathered her courage and approached Obi in his private study. He was reading through reports when she knocked. Come in, he said without looking up. Esther entered, her hands clenched tightly in front of her. Obi finally glanced up. Yes, Esther. Her voice trembled. Sir, please forgive me for disturbing you again, But I heard something yesterday. Something important. Obi's eyes narrowed slightly. What did you hear? Esther breathed in deeply and let it all out. She told him everything. How she forgot the money, returned early, heard Madame talking to Agu, the plan to poison him, the life insurance, the escape plan to America. Every word shook her lips, but she held firm. Obi stared at her, his expression unreadable. When she finished, the silence in the room was so loud, it almost choked her. Then, slam! Obi stood up suddenly, his chair sliding back. Are you accusing my wife of trying to kill me? He barked. Do you know what you're saying? Esther backed away, terrified. Sir, I swear. I heard them. How dare you? Obi's voice rose with fury. You're lucky I haven't sacked you already. You want to tear my marriage apart? Get out. Sir, please. Get out. Esther ran out in tears, covering her mouth so the staff wouldn't hear her crying. Obi stood still in the room, his fists clenched. His breathing was heavy. His mind screamed at him to stay angry, to defend his wife. But somewhere deep inside, something whispered, what if she's telling the truth? What if this is the second warning? He didn't know it yet, but a storm had begun to build over his house, and soon it would break. The following hours were a blur of tension and silence. Esther's words echoed in Obi's mind like a thunderclap. He sat alone in his study, arms folded tightly across his chest, eyes fixed on nothing. The air around him felt heavier than usual. Her voice, the fear in it, refused to leave him. They are planning to poison you, Madame and Mr. Agu. At first he'd lashed out. He'd shouted, threatened, accused Esther of slander. But now, alone in his thoughts, doubt crept in, like poison itself. Could it be true? Could Veronica, the woman he adored, be plotting his death? No, Obi muttered, shaking his head. She would never. But then again, why had Veronica been so eager to dismiss Esther's warning the other day? Why was she suddenly so loving, so attentive, cooking more than usual, serving him meals herself? That wasn't like her. For months, their marriage had grown cold, routine, distant. She barely showed affection. But now, she was acting like the perfect wife from a Nollywood film. And then there were the dreams. 2 nights in a row. The same dream. The same collapse. The same voice. And now, Esther's claim matched every detail. That wasn't coincidence. It couldn't be. Obi stood from his chair and walked slowly to the window. Outside, the sky was already darkening. The compound lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the driveway. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled. A storm was coming. By the time he entered the house, Veronica was waiting in the living room, dressed in a red satin gown that shimmered under the chandelier. Her smile was wide, too wide. Welcome home, my love, she said sweetly, standing to greet him. Obi blinked. You're looking extra today, she twirled. Do you like it? I made dinner. Just for us. Your favorite. Spiced coconut rice with smoked turkey and plantains. She walked up and kissed him on the cheek. Something in her eyes didn't match her tone. Obi forced a smile. Thank you. Let me just go upstairs and shower. I'll be down in a few minutes. No, Veronica insisted. Come and eat now, darling. It's hot. Just the way you like it. That wasn't normal. Veronica never urged him to eat before freshening up. In fact, she always insisted he washed off the office smell first. But now, she was practically begging him to eat. That was the final sign. I forgot my phone upstairs. Obi lied. I'm expecting an urgent call. Could you help me get it? Veronica paused, just for a heartbeat, but then smiled again. Of course. As soon as she turned and walked up the stairs, Obi moved like lightning. He darted into the dining room, lifted the plate cover, and stared at the food. It smelled delicious, but death often wore perfume. He grabbed the plate carefully, tiptoed into the guest toilet beside the dining room, and flushed everything. Rice, meat, even the sauce. He cleaned the plate with tissue, wiped his lips with a napkin to look like he had eaten, then returned and sat calmly at the table. A minute later, Veronica returned, holding his phone. Her eyes flicked to the empty plate. She froze. "You ate it all?" she asked. Obi smiled. "I was hungry." Veronica's face lit up with triumph. "I'm glad you enjoyed it." He leaned back, rubbing his stomach. "You should cook more often." Inside, his heart pounded. He had no idea if the food had been poisoned, but if it had, he had just dodged death. And now, the real game had begun. Veronica's smile stretched as she watched Obi lean back in his chair, rubbing his stomach like a satisfied king after a royal feast. "You finished everything?" she asked, almost breathless. "Of course," Obi replied, with a calm smile. It was too delicious to resist. Veronica's heart skipped. For a split second, her body sagged with relief. Her palms, damp with sweat, loosened their grip on her gown. This was it. The moment she had been praying for. Obi had eaten the entire plate. And in that moment, as she watched him sip water and smile so innocently, she saw freedom. She saw America. She saw life without hiding or secrets. She saw Agu. But beneath her skin, her nerves were racing. Every passing second felt like a countdown. 5 minutes passed. Nothing. 10 minutes. Still nothing. Veronica sat straighter, trying to remain calm. She forced conversation. "So, how was work today?" "Good," Obi answered casually. "You know, usual numbers, reports. I signed a contract for that new estate project in Lekki. It seems so normal. Too normal." Veronica's hand trembled as she reached for her own glass of water. She took a slow sip to steady herself. 15 minutes. Still nothing. Her heart began to drum louder. 20 minutes. Obi leaned back again, stifled a yawn. "You seem quiet tonight." She forced a laugh. "I'm just happy. You hardly eat at home anymore. Seeing you enjoy your meal like this, it warms my heart." Obi smiled again. "I should eat home more often." Another few minutes crawled by. Still, no signs. No vomiting. No sweating. No collapsing. Something was wrong. Veronica excused herself calmly and headed to the bathroom. She locked the door, pulled out her phone, and dialed Agu. He picked on the first ring. "Talk to me." "I gave it to him," she whispered, biting her lip. "He finished everything. But it's been over 20 minutes. He's fine. Nothing has happened." Agu cursed on the other end. "Are you sure you used the full dose?" "I poured the entire thing into the stew," she said. "Everything." "Then give it time. It's not always instant. Sometimes it can take up to 30 minutes depending on metabolism. Stay calm. Watch him." Veronica took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll call you when it's done." She ended the call and returned to the dining room. Obi was still seated, wiping his mouth gently with a napkin. She smiled, as if nothing was wrong. Sat beside him. Waited. 25 minutes. Still nothing. She glanced at the wall clock. The second hand ticking felt louder than her heartbeat. And then, ooh. Obi suddenly bent forward, clutching his stomach. "Obi?" Veronica called, her voice rising. "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. He let out a sharp cry, fell from the chair, and rolled onto the floor. "Aye, my stomach, my chest." He began gasping for air. Veronica dropped to her knees beside him, trying hard not to smile. "Oh God. Obi. Obi," she cried, loudly enough for the staff to hear. "Somebody help. My husband is dying." Foam began to drip from Obi's mouth. His eyes rolled. His limbs jerked violently. Then, silence. Stillness. Obi's chest stopped rising. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He was gone. Veronica checked for a pulse. None. She staggered back, pressing both hands to her mouth. It had worked. Tears poured from her eyes, not from grief, but relief. She cried and wailed for show, but her heart was dancing. A lifetime of waiting, over in one meal. She composed herself, picked up her phone, and dialed Agu again. It worked, she said softly, unable to hide her smile. The bastard is dead. Agu exhaled. Finally. Now I'll claim everything, she said. His name, his properties, even his insurance will pay out. We'll leave this hellhole. I never loved him. It was always you, Agu. Always. She laughed bitterly, then slowly turned around and screamed, because there he stood. Obi, alive, breathing, eyes burning. Veronica's hands trembled. No, 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 no. You're dead. I saw you. You're supposed to be dead. Obi clapped slowly, the sound echoing like a judge's gavel in a courtroom. Congratulations, Veronica, he said with venom in his voice. You almost got away with it. She stumbled back, her face pale as ash. No, no. He stepped forward. You really wanted me gone, didn't you? My wife, my own blood, my best friend. Veronica fell to her knees, trembling. Please, Obi. I can explain. There's no need, Obi said coldly. I heard everything. Every word. You see, when you went to get my phone, I flushed the food. I never touched it. Her eyes widened. Her world crumbled in one sentence. You didn't eat it? Number. And I recorded your call, your little confession to Agu. I have it all. Veronica burst into sobs. Obi, please. Please. He didn't blink. You tried to take my life. For what? For love? For money? For a man who will betray you too? Veronica shook violently, but Obi was done speaking. Now, it was her turn to feel helpless. Veronica stared at her husband, trembling, still kneeling on the tiled floor. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She had just watched him convulse and collapse before her, foam at the mouth, shaking like someone on the brink of death. She had believed, truly believed, that Obi Nwankwo was gone, but now, here he was, alive, standing over her like a ghost with a heartbeat. You didn't eat it? She whispered, voice cracking. Obi's face was stone. I poured it down the toilet. I only pretended to eat. And while you were gone, I hit record on my phone. Veronica's hands flew to her mouth. She let out a pitiful wail. I heard everything, Obi continued. From the way you smiled while I ate, to the call you made to Agu, when you thought I was dead. You called me the bastard. You said you never loved me. Veronica collapsed onto her elbows, sobbing. Obi, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He bent slowly, his voice low and bitter. Why? Why would you do this to me? What did I do to deserve death in my own house? She looked up, her face streaked with tears and makeup. I didn't mean to. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Then what was it supposed to be, Veronica? A fairy tale. You kill me, inherit everything, then go live with Agu in America. Veronica gasped. Obi's eyes narrowed. Yes, I know. I know it's all. Veronica dropped her head and nodded slowly. And then, she confessed, I knew Agu before I met you. We were in love, back in school. But life separated us. After I married you, I met him again at your company. It started with just coffee and lunch. Then, I don't know, the feelings came back. Obi's chest rose and fell, rage held back by sheer control. He convinced me we could start over, that we could have a new life if you were gone. I'm sorry, Obi. I was weak. I got lost. Obi stood tall and shook his head. I gave you everything. My name, my empire, my trust. Veronica reached for his hand, but Obi pulled away. And you paid me back with betrayal. Veronica remained on her knees, face soaked in tears, shame clinging to her like a second skin. Obi, please, she sobbed. Don't send me to jail. I'll do anything. Just don't ruin my life. Obi stared at her for a long, painful moment. Then he spoke, slowly. I'll forgive you, but on one condition. Veronica's eyes widened. Anything. Obi's voice turned cold. Agu wanted to take everything I built. My life, my legacy. But now, you're going to help me take everything from him instead. Veronica blinked, confused. We'll turn the game around. You'll feed him lies, win his trust, set him up. Every property he owns, every secret he has. I want them all. She swallowed hard, then nodded. Okay, I'll do it. But know this, Obi added, stepping back. After that, we're done. No marriage, no love. I'm only doing this to keep you out of jail. For now. Veronica broke into silent sobs. Obi turned away, voice low and firm. You tried to end my story, but now I'll rewrite yours. And with that, the game truly began.